A pleasure to meet all at last, and welcome back to the Vlog-A-Thon 5.0. And now let's get to talk about a few things regarding my Twitter account. You could be talking about the first one that I had if you were a longtime follower on there, or you could also talk about my newer one, which I've had since fall 2018. Well, the thing is, I could talk a bit about both of them actually. I'm going to get started with the first one that I have made. August 12th, 2006. The time where the internet was not the biggest thing in the world regarding social media. And social media wasn't entirely a big deal at the time. Sure, there was the innovation of such sites like MySpace and Facebook, and by 2006 there was also YouTube. But Twitter was another site that would be created. The co-founder Jeff Bezos basically initiated this project as being a social media website that would allow people to talk with a grand total of 140 characters, including spacebar functions, in these little messages called tweets. And the thing is, since then, it has managed to become one of the greatest, most unbelievably influential, and largest companies in the world of social media. It actually managed to do just as you would expect. Grow huge in population, thrive off of imminent successes, and also allow for a lot of influences between people and co-creators of various things. From sports to politics to racing and all that we currently have. We could see it on television, but we can also use the web as a way to interact with others about how our lives are working right now. What do we do for a living? What is our lifestyle like? What do we do for a hobby or whatnot? Well, you know what? I put myself out there as a filmographer, a person who does filming as part of a living, which is a thing that I have in fact been doing for a good long time. And of course, my Twitter account was created August 2006. Since then, here we are, about 14 to 16 years later. Unfortunately though, that account is no longer with us. In October 2018, I went ahead and created another account that basically did the same exact thing. September, October, November, and December 2018 and onwards, these were the times where I started fresh. A whole new account, a whole new series of things that would take place. I've made lots of followers. If you remember when I've talked about the amazing success of my Vine account, which ran from 2013 to 2017, well, you probably know that I mentioned that my Twitter account would actually feed off of the success of my Vine accounts as a result of this. I would swap content, exchange a little bit here and there between both of these accounts, and my Twitter and Vine would basically work in tangent since Vine was actually owned by Twitter at the time. To be able to grow immensely. But my Twitter accounts, my first one of course, that I've had since August 2006, unfortunately may have been on the record for probably a little bit too long. Because after a little while, up until around 2017, Twitter would start cracking down on people. Because there were so many things going on Twitter right now, a lot of lies taught out there, a lot of posts out there that people would make, tweets of all sorts that would actually allow for certain horrible things to happen. There were people banking off of the unbelievable destruction of certain things. There were people out there debating about the Boston Marathon bombing of 2013, the SARS epidemic which turned into MERS in 2012, NCOV in 2019, and well, many others. There were people that were talking a lot about natural disasters like El Reno in 2013, or even the infamous Japan earthquakes that were happening at the time as well. So with all of that has basically happened throughout history, with all the documentation that people have put together and all of the words that people have said, it's no wonder why Twitter has not only become one of the biggest companies specifically because of the unbelievable amount of hate, controversy, and criticism that they all have to suffer from. And I feel like that with all those people that might be watching this Vlog-A-Thon episode right now, If you could see through my own eyes, know my own memory, and understand all of the things that I've ever went through in my life, you would just know the fact that Twitter is not only really, really bad at doing their job of giving us a nice, big, functional company to work with on the web, but they can also be very, very disregarding towards human decency and towards the welfare and safety of all people on the web. They can really be that bad. Because here's a little story that might stretch out a little too far, maybe thin even, but here's how it all went down. I've talked about this several other times before, but here I feel like I can talk about it in the greatest detail possible, and with all the time I have now for myself, really, I can explain all of this, talk everything that I possibly can ever talk about this one string of events that has taken place. The date was February 2016. A few months prior to this, in late 2015, I would have the combination of going through the worst possible part of foreign accent syndrome ever. The eventual progression until it's basically a thing that my mind is used to. So now it's almost like my real voice, which is not. I never have spoken with an English dialect, and I never really wanted to do it in the first place. But a mouth injury happened, and as a result, that is eventually what came to be. But in February 2016, I basically was invited to a nice big prom that happened out in the Milwaukee area. And when I came back, I checked on my Twitter page. After I had taken a few photos here and there, I wanted to upload them to my Twitter page. Unfortunately, a little notice had come up. I was redirected to a page where a nice big note from Twitter would come up, and then eventually a Gmail would come up as well. My email address, jboac599@gmail.com, was basically flooded with notifications from Twitter. But then, of course, there was one at the top from Twitter themselves. The people who were operating the platform had a little thing to say to me at that time. That night in February 2016, I would be notified that my account was now being put through a suspension. And you could never guess what the reason for that was. According to them, it was because anonymous tips had come by, reports had come by, that my account was apparently acting like a combination of spam and hate. I don't even know how to put this together, but that's just what happened that time. My Twitter account was being put through a total suspension because some idiots thought it was okay for them to falsify reports and whatnot and make them think that I'm a freaking bad guy and I'm posting spam and whatnot. So if you made it this far, let's just recap, shall we? I go to a prom night event in Milwaukee. I come back home that night, several hours after I left, only to find that my Twitter account is being suspended because of reports coming from some people that my account was acting very suspicious, a combination of supposed abuse and hateful content and a lot of spam were affecting other users. So my account was being suspended. Wow. That's basically what happened that night in 2016. Never would I have ever imagined that my account could actually be under fire from things that I didn't even do. I mean, it was bad enough that my YouTube channel had to be completely taken away because of things that I did, and I actually did. I'm not serious. I'm serious this time. I actually did a lot of horrible things those times. Pre-2013, of course, when my YouTube channel access was taken away and therefore the blackout period began. But February 2016, 3 years later, another thing like this happens. I'm being suspended for things I supposedly did, but this time it was not true. Absolutely untrue. There was no possible way I could have ever said anything like racial slurs, bigotry towards women, and also post a lot of spam, including advertising towards different companies that were actually found to be completely fraud. I never did any of that ever in my life. at almost 17 years old at that time, in 2016, I absolutely knew better than to just go and upload that kind of stuff to the web. I knew better than to just go and straight out slap the N-word against people like that. I knew better than to just go and start talking about that kind of stuff to anybody at all. I knew better than to just go and post up random things that would literally be considered spam even by today. But that's just exactly what they went ahead and did. They started flagging me for falsification. I mean, these freaking hackers, whoever they are so sorry. I really am sure of that, because soon enough, within a few months, after some thorough investigating of my own, I managed to find out who these two people were after searching through URLs and inspection reports and whatnot, and exactly where the source came from, the source of these reports. I found out 2 different accounts, 2 of them. I got them both banned permanently. They falsified a report straight on towards my account. They falsified everything, and I managed to provide some screenshots here and there with actual evidence that the fact that I was never actually responsible for creating such things, such as posting racial slurs or bigotry towards females or anything that is ever considered spam. I proved them wrong, and they can go suck a big one for that. They have done a lot of harm, as a matter of fact. I feel like that all the people out there will get to understand the fact about how social media works. You don't get to do whatever you like. Well, I got them banned. And since then, by the end of 2016, I was free from everything. Everything was dropped. Everything was cleared. I felt like I could move on from all that stuff. In 2017 and 2018, let's just say, these were times where my account actually managed to grow thanks to the feeding success that my Vine account actually gave me. I had over 36,000 followers, 350,000 plus loops, and on top of that, about 1,100 posts on Vine itself. A good majority of which were actually reposts, likes, and whatnot that I've made from other Vines that people have made. So I had a big success on Vine. But as soon as I crossed over back to Twitter, after my Vine account was permanently shut down from the app shutting down itself, well, that success actually allowed for me to grow in numbers in terms of followers on Twitter. And as soon as I started uploading other stuff to Twitter, I actually managed to do a whole lot better than you would have realized. I really was much more happier with myself, and I feel like that people out there could actually learn a few things here and there. If you're successful on one platform, you're guaranteed to be successful in another one, and another one, and another one, until all of your social media accounts are basically there for people to literally subscribe to. Even if you haven't uploaded anything that had gone viral, in a good way at least, on a good majority of these accounts, then people that know you on one account can probably find your other accounts, and they can probably like the content that you have there as well, especially if it's exclusive. But of course, in 2017 and 2018, even though I was literally off the hook for anything that had actually happened before then, let's just say that Twitter was not that much easier to work with from then on out. No. It actually started to come back and hit me hard. Because it was not from the combination of the likes of my Vine account as well as a new trend called the gang tweet community, where you can allow a gain of followers, likes, retweets, and whatnot to your account by simply liking and retweeting such tweets that would include the likes of, let's say, follow everyone who likes and retweets this. Any tweets that are basically in that sort of format where you get to follow everyone who basically likes a tweet or retweets a tweet or just puts out a tweet that simply says that you should follow everyone who has an interaction with the tweet by any means. It's that kind of formula that actually would allow your follower count to rise up significantly. And by the time I got through senior year in high school, in summer 2018, my account got to almost 30,000 followers. It was nowhere near the kind of success rate that I had going on with my Vine account, and it definitely was a lot better than what was happening on Instagram because I didn't have a lot going on there either. But the thing is, my Twitter account was getting bigger, if not any better, than my Vine account. So I feel like I was having a similar thing going on compared to what my Vine account was doing. Because by 2016, I feel like that I was really on a roll with things. My Vine account was just amazing at this point. And in 2018, my Twitter account would have the same thing. I would actually have a big growth going on here. And of course, well, let's just say here in 2022, I've got some things going on all sides, actually. My YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. I used to have other social media platforms as well, but each of which have eventually just faded off or been removed from existence. So it can be pretty hard to dial in to everything at once. So I basically have abandoned the likes of most things here and there, but again, by 2018, let's just say, Twitter started to do the same thing to me over and over again. I've gone under locks, suspensions, and requests to have my password changed. I mean, I've gone through these screens more times than could have ever been laughable. Yeah, I mean, it was one thing for Twitter to start suspending my account and whatnot because of an actual falsified allegation against me, but they're literally doing this to me now for no reason. They're claiming that my account is spamming. Game tweets aren't spamming. My gosh, these are literal people whom we have seen in person. I've gotten to know a good handful of these kind of people who upload this content on a regular basis, but that's just the thing. Twitter was not going to let up with this stuff ever again. I mean, it was just ridiculous. In 2018 alone, I had to really go all in and just release a few videos on YouTube talking about Twitter, the problems they have, and that they need to stop doing this. I eventually got really frustrated at one point when it happened over 12 times. In the span of about a year, by 2019, I got so mad. I was actually wanting to put them up through court. I literally wanted to start a lawsuit between those guys and myself. I wanted to do just that. But there was one problem I had. I did not quite have enough money to afford a lawyer. So that's just what happened there. I could not do just that. But here is what really set me off that time. 2019, my account's success was kind of dropping down pretty low. I was starting to lose a couple thousand followers here and there because I hardly had time to use my Twitter because of one thing, Marcus Theaters. I was actually having a job with them. I really should mention that I've had jobs across the board in many places, and I've also had a lot of things to do with a ton of different things in my life. Lots of things relating to jobs, careers, and whatnot, building up a good resume in my life, having a good series of grades going on at school. And by the time I was done with a good majority of all that, in 2019, I was having myself a big job with a lot of hours and a lot of work and also a lot of paychecks. But times like that eventually came down to an ultimatum. Twitter pulled the plug on me yet again. They put me through a lock, not just on my first account, but also the second account that I've had for over a year. In November 2019, they simply gave me the message saying that I'm going to be permanently suspended from both of these accounts. Both of these accounts. Like, I had not even used the second account very often. Like, my first one is what I've typically been more reliant on because it's a bit more successful than the other one. 12 years of a difference it is between the two. But Twitter decided to suspend them both anyways. They were both under zero access by any means. I was never allowed to even log on to any of that stuff. Like, this was just crazy for them. Why would they think that it was a good idea to go and suspend both of my accounts permanently for things I didn't even do to begin with? So, you know what I went ahead and did? The ultimatum, of course. This was not just any ultimatum, though. This was my option in life. Either I have one of my accounts removed in the hopes that it could potentially lift the suspension from both my accounts, or I just let it all go, pretty much. I just leave them all be. They can stay in an archive state, suspended for all time, and people can just look at it and wonder, how did this guy get suspended? I mean, I got people all around still wanting to talk to me about that kind of stuff. That my first account's now gone, and now my second one is just the only one that's left. The 2018 account that I've had, 4 years it's been around now. And I hope it stays around for a long time, if not longer than the first one. Yes, my first one was deactivated. December 23rd, 2019. This was the time that I basically had to make the decision. I decided to take down my old account. It was losing followers, and it was also not doing as good as it was back then. So that is basically what had happened there. From August 2006 to December 2019, a 13-year time span, from the time it was made to the time that it had to be taken out. And now that I have myself my second account online again, and it's been online since then, and Twitter has also not tried to suspend it again since then, I feel like maybe I could just let all of this go. I could just move on with my life here, and maybe someday other people might do the same thing. It was one thing for one account to be almost as old as the website itself and have a huge amount of followers in the process, but for nearly 30,000 followers and whatnot, and about 10,000 posts, a total of about 70,000 tweets, with 10,000 of them being pictures and videos, I really do have a feeling that someday, if Twitter does seem to have that sort of idea today, I should at the very least be ready for this stuff. If they're going to start suspending my account again, claiming that it's spam and whatnot, I got no reason to back down now. I'm actually going to go through with a lawsuit towards them someday. I actually will charge them for various things. I will do all that it possibly takes to give them what they deserve. But hey, you know what? Talking about the many things I had to do with my life, from changing my ways after the blackout period started, to having a huge success in my Vine account, then a huge success in my Twitter account, which eventually led to my Twitter account having to be completely shut out from the get-go. I feel like that after all has been said and done, this is a pretty long issue of the Vlog-A-Thon itself. But I really am honestly pretty happy about how everything's been turning out. The fact that my YouTube channel is growing is really a sign that I might be doing so much better than I used to. And the fact is, I've actually earned a few privileges here and there of various features and functions that most larger YouTubers could have. I even have community posts. Yes, I can finally make community posts. That's amazing. I have been waiting for that feature for so long, and this year it's finally happening. I can finally do that kind of stuff that those people have been doing left and right. I'm just really happy with how things have turned out in recent times, because I never would have figured, had it happened earlier, maybe something could have possibly been better in life. Maybe my Twitter account could have been spared. Maybe my Vine account could have actually been recovered, or at least all the content I've made on my Vine could have been recovered. But I feel like if I had prepared after all that, I really feel like that if I've actually done anything then maybe I could have actually been even better than I used to be. But I really have had to do a lot of changes in my life. I've had to have a lot of consequences just to ensure that I could learn my lesson from things. I really had to change my ways. Otherwise, I was going absolutely nowhere with my content. After all these years that have come and gone, I'm beyond happy to say I am Kaiju Force Neo. I'm still around after more than 15 years of running on the web. Throughout many social media accounts I've had, Twitter, YouTube, Vine, Instagram, Tumblr, Mastodon, Tango, WhatsApp, and even Storyfire. After all that's been said and done, after everything I have done, after everything I've worked for, I feel like that today is going to be a great day for me. And who knows, within a 5-year period that'll come and go, anything could happen. maybe my accounts will actually get even bigger than they used to be. Maybe my success could be even larger and grander than I would have anticipated. Maybe I could actually do so much more than I would have ever thought possible. But for now, let's just go ahead and anticipate the feeling that maybe tomorrow could actually prove to be even better than today. Let's start working out the 5-year span starting today and just see what goes on tomorrow. Thank you very much for sitting back, relaxing, and enjoying all the things I've had to say about various events that I've had in my life, especially when it comes to my social media. But now, I'd say it's going to be time to move on. I got lots of other stuff I need to talk about here, so if you want to see more, go down to my channel to make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.